Spin.
Spin, spin, spin. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Access Astrology. This is when three astrologers scattered across the face of the United States gather to talk about the energy in the heavens above and how it's going to affect you on Earth. Help you make good choices and acknowledge what the heck's going on so you don't feel like you're crazy. My name is Ann Ortley. I'm an astrologer. I'm currently in New York or in Florida where it's 45 and the wind is blowing outside. And I'm joined by my fellow astrologers, Mark.
Mark Waltz. I'm up in New Paltz, New York, and we're seeing 0 degrees overnight.
Cold. And then Heather.
And this is Heather Rowan Robbins from Montana, where it's also 45 degrees today, but that's a heat wave, and we desperately need some snow up here. So it's all about, proportion, priorities, timing, and rhythm. The world is changing.
The world is definitely changing, and we are changing with it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Uranus having station to go direct, which we talked a bit about last week.
Crazy.
And we're going to have Mercury going into Pisces, getting ready for a very long journey in Pisces because he's going to go retrograde. Mm-hmm. And then we're in eclipse season. The eclipses are coming. So getting ready for that. And then next week on the 13th, Saturn goes into Pisces for the first time, or leaves Pisces and goes into Aries. And he says goodbye to Pisces for 29 years. So lots of changes, and off we go. So,
did you have any domestic chaos when Uranus turned direct, when it was stationed?
Well, my microwave fried. Mm-hmm. And then my super called from New York to say there was a leak in my apartment.
Oh,
and of course, that Saturn is trining my progressed sun and my Jupiter Uranus in the 6th. So I've got a grand trine in water. So he called and he's like, leak in your apartment, in your line, right? So I'm like, keys with my neighbor. So he went and got the keys. And he went in and then he called me back to say, the pipe between the toilet and the shower is gone. So we have to take that out. Now, I had my bathroom painted if you've been to my apartment for a reading, it's painted like a fairyland. It's, you're down in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I've got trees, and I've got flowers, and I've got mountains, and I got cloudy skies. And so he's like, Ann, I'm going to have to ruin, because over my bathtub, I have it white, because I know that's going to leak. He says, Ann, I'm going to have to ruin your ceiling. I'm like, all right. He goes, want me to paint it white? Is that okay? I said, well, he goes, you know what? No, I'm going to paint it bright blue. And you're going to have cloudless skies. And I'm like, all right, that's very kind of you. So he tore it down. There's send me a picture of the hole and the pipe and the whatever. And he's going to paint it blue. So I have cloudless skies when I go home.
How beautiful. Not many people have that in New York. Yeah. I had a tahini disaster where I'm, just as Uranus was stationary, I'm pulling out a jar of tahini. It broke open. The top went flying all over. All the drawers, the counter, all the clean dishes, the toaster, the air fryer, and it's not easy to clean up. But luckily I can laugh because I'm going, what a great example of Uranus stationary.
Breaking over your head and dropping delicious tahini in Taurus.
All over Gooby, everything. So it was really funny. And sometimes seeing the astrological slapstick can help us.
Yeah. But Mark, did you have anything fun in your land?
Just electronic stuff.
Okay.
Things not really breaking, but doing what they're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Like unpredictably giving me a screen that I didn't ask for.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Remo has decided he wants to help, so he just popped up here. So you're gonna see. There he is. There's his little cat ear there. Hi. He's just being a real pest today. I mean, I love the guy. But I gave him cat food this morning. He didn't like it. I just gave him cat food again. He doesn't like it. And he's like, I'm not happy. Like, none of this works for me. So I made some pasta here. And he's like, okay, I can smell there's some meat in there. And he's decided he wants to help. I think you need to get down. Come on. Yeah, get down. So this week, with the moon in Libra and then going into Scorpio, it's going to be in the path of fire the next couple days. So that's important to pay attention to. And we also have Saturn on a world point, 029 of Pisces, and Neptune there, as is Eris, Chiron, rather, at 22 and a half of the cardinal. He's there too. So it's a very feisty sky.
Yeah.
That's the other part, is just knowing it's feisty, and it's fixed air. So people are really dug in on their positions, which is okay, but you don't argue with them. Look at how low the earth is. Look at how low the water is. A lot of energy in air and fire. So visionary ideas. Carolyn Casey, who we all love, has that Saturn Neptune in her chart. She's a 52-53 model. And it's the vision. Neptune's the vision for the reality train to run, Saturn. So we're getting a new vision. And then on the 13th, Saturn's going to say, what is it? And then they're getting married on the 20th. So we're approaching the nuptials for the next 38 years. Kind of exciting.
That is exciting. And we see that Saturn goes into Aries next week.
Yep.
Right at the end on next Friday. So on Friday the 13th, Saturn goes into Aries. That should be an interesting process. But we'll talk more about that next week.
Next week, right. But we're right at that precipice, so when the planets are at the very last degrees, they're very active. And who do you need to kick out of your life or get rid of? Because Saturn's saying, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. And what do we want to get rid of? So, Mark, what do you think of the chart in the sky right now? What do you notice about the heavens?
Well, I still keep seeing a lot of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening. And they're still trying to work together. Yeah. And so it's happening in everybody's life, trying to put together the take apart energy and the put together energy.
Because we're taking apart with the Pisces, done, and we're putting together the Aries, go, go, go. Yeah.
And I think it's such a strange time when we go from this 5 planets in far-sighted Aquarius that's so aware, and we have been, all those planets went through Capricorn and are now going through Aquarius. Our picture, many of our vision has been focused on what our whole country is going through. I haven't heard much personal input from people, and I'm seeing relationships getting a little threadbare because everybody talks about politics or what's going on in the world or their concerns or their metaphysics, and not, how do they feel today and what's their emotions and what's happening in their family. So I think we're going to see there's a big need to catch up on our emotional homework as Venus heads into Pisces and Mercury heads into Pisces over the next week. It's just, don't drop what you're doing to help the big picture. Keep up that Aquarian pressure, because there's, Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for a long time. But can we also make sure to just check in with the people close by, that everybody could use a little tenderness starting on Friday and going on through the rest of the week?
Right.
I always like when Mercury goes into Pisces, because that's where it is for me.
Okay. And
people have a hard time understanding some of my Pisces Mercury.
But you always know where you are.
I always know.
Yeah. That's the whole point. And the whole thing with Mercury and Pisces is wherever I am is where I am.
Yep.
I think of it like with your yoga, like you do what your body can let you do. You are where you are. And so Mercury and Pisces is very much where am I? Like this is where I am. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Kind of cool. So. And
I just want to wait one comment. Someone, and because I'm an Aries moon, Crane X Dragon said, imagine wasting your life like this, talking about the astrological, and I believe he referred to it as butt sniffing. And I just want to point out that I certainly find that this compassionate exploration makes a lot more sense than wasting your time making nasty comments on something you don't believe in. So just go away if you're not really actually curious about this.
We don't need you here. Go away.
Right. We want people that are curious. We want
nasty people. We don't need nasty people. Obviously, your mother didn't love you because you're weak.
And that'll show in your chart.
Yeah,
with all of this,
give us your chart and we'll do a little analysis and tell you your hangups and why you post nasty things on people's Facebook pages.
You know, what I say with all of this is, you know, we don't ask anybody to take this as a religion or as fact, but to try it on and see if it's helpful and useful for them. Because most of the people that we work with find that it is helpful. And just as you said, it's like not crazy. It's how do we work with people in the best of ways, and how do we give them models to work, to constellate, to work with the stars, not have a disaster or fight the stars. So that there's
The key word there is helpful.
Yeah. And butt sniffing means you're a Scorpio.
Or there's some Scorpio in there.
That means your mother didn't want you when she had you. Just saying. So don't come over here.
Not all Scorpios are that, but
don't
yes.
come over and poop in our website. You know.
So and speaking of, you know, slightly difficult people and interesting scatological comments, I wanted to talk about because so much Epstein's chart, such a really interesting example of posthumous transits.
Yes.
And it's an interesting chart to begin with Cap rising. His sun was barely in Aquarius, and most of the rest of his cohort is Capricorn, but he's got a Capricorn sun, a Capricorn Mercury and rising, moon in Aries. But it's interesting that in what he makes money from is Venus, second house is that Juno, Mercury, Venus, and Mars exact conjunct in Pisces. And he has Pluto conjunct the south node in other people's business. And you can see that blackmailing people and dealing with their Pluto shadow was how he made money and what he used to deal with hiding his own vulnerability. And that's what I see is there's some real fear in this chart, the real fear of vulnerability. He's the another mid 53 version of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction.
Yeah, so that's the top of the chart. That's why he's so much in the news right now, because Saturn and Neptune are having a natal excitation. They're joined with each other, so it's stimulating his, and it's the ninth house. It's legal matters. So Congress passed a law and said to the Justice Department, release those tapes. Yeah.
And here we have the time, and we don't have exact moment of his death. We know the day that he was found dead. As Saturn and Pluto were coming across his ascendant, Pluto was conjunct his Mercury. His progressed sun was conjunct his moon, and Chiron was conjunct both of those. Neptune had just gone over his Venus and Mars, and the Sun and Pluto and Venus were all sitting right on his Pluto South Node conjunction. So it was a really interesting chart for whether he killed himself or was killed. We often see, you can see the use and abuse of power rather than knowing exactly what happened there. And that, whether it was depression and knowing all this crap was about to come out into the open, or other people did that to him. I don't know if we'll ever know, but you can see it was a really interesting set of transits for a time to leave.
Yeah, well, Uranus on Mars rules his midheaven, and Uranus is breaking out, and Uranus is square to his Vestas. So, he did transfer all his money overseas the day before he died. So I'm of the thing he's hanging out on an island somewhere, having had a facelift and restructured, and he's happy. So we'll see with that progressed sun on back to that chart, the progressed.
Okay, this is today's chart. That was the death chart.
Yeah, go to the death.
Go to the death chart.
Right. So the death chart has the Venus on Taurus retrograde, and so we're going to have a Venus star point at 0 Scorpio on his part of fortune Saturn midpoint. So we may find out October 23rd if he is alive and living well someplace else, because that progressed sun at 7 right on his moon says, I have a whole new life. When we see that happens once every 365 years, right? So that's the third house of, who did I pay off to get out of here? So I happen to think he's alive.
We don't know if he paid to get out of, in this body or not. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But we see could have a whole new life in some other form. the Pluto was exactly conjunct as Mercury then, and then as the first leak, the first time the files began to be revealed, just the little bits that they gave us at the beginning was when Pluto conjunct his sun.
Right.
Yeah. Which was a powerful lineup. And now we're looking at his Pluto lineup here. Pluto is sitting very close, still going back and forth, very close to his sun. And we see, as this week, the sun has been going over his north node in Aquarius, all the community that he's exposing at the moment. His progressed moon is at 20, has got another month and a half in Scorpio. Be very interesting to see in about a month and a half when his progressed moon goes into Sagittarius, if another layer of his secrets comes out into the open.
Well, there's apparently 3.5 million more documents, so
right,
there's more stuff out there. Although my brother-in-law, he's like at the wit's end with his Epstein stuff. So he was complaining, no live TV. I said, well, I generally find it's about a day and a half for every million documents. And there's, so you can watch TV again in about a week. And then I wrote, by the way, there's still 3.5 more million coming out. And he was like, oh, so no live TV. I'm just going to have to watch, sports news or whatever he does. So, yeah. But that also, that the release of the documents with Saturn and Neptune on a world point at 0 is in a sextile to his sun. So they did release some. And we also have Pallas Athena there at 0 Aries. So that's a hot degree. We're going to watch it get stimulated quite a bit. And all April, there's a huge stellium in Aries. So we're going to really watch what happens then, because it's all over his third house of emails and messages and so more to come, more paper to come.
One thing he knew about Pluto was when it's time to leave. Yeah. Turn the whole mess over to somebody else.
Yeah, you deal with it. And the Saturn back, going back and forth in Pisces, but it's going to be coming up to his moon this summer. And it will be interesting to see what they do with all of the information that's coming out now.
It gets up to 15, and then it goes back in stations at 7. So we're not done with him until next year, because it's going back to 7 in December. So all fun.
And yeah, so much fun. So that was interesting. Now on to more friendly situations. We have one client and then a baby, and then we want to talk about. And I figured we'd finish with the baby. If you go deal with all the difficult things, how nice to see something interesting and very strong-willed baby coming in. So here is Melanie. She didn't have any questions directly, but I've got her chart. We've got another moon in Aries and her natal chart. And she's looking at what's coming up for her in this year. You can see that she's had, she's been through the Pluto on the Venus in the past. And I'm seeing so many people that are just coming back alive after Pluto gets off their chart, that have things in late degrees of Capricorn, that when, after Pluto finished with them, then that Saturn and Neptune came and sextiled it instead. Let's wake up a little bit. You've got some, it's safe for you to put your head out of the cave at the moment.
It's kind of like Glinda landing in the Wizard of Oz, and she goes, come out, wherever you are, and all the little munchkins come out, right? So
exactly.
It's safe for you to emerge, Melanie. We're going to be good. It's all good.
Yeah. And that she's got Neptune on her moon and Saturn on her moon. How do you feel? I mean, Epstein's going to have that in a bit, but I think it's going to, its focus is differently. How do you feel about that Saturn and Neptune right on her moon coming up in the next month? Her progressed moon's in Scorpio. It's at the bottom of the chart. She's going through, I think in 13 months or 12 months, her progressed moon heads into Sagittarius, and she will be feeling, starting to come back that'll be the rest of the come out wherever you are. That's really coming to a real spring in her life over the next year. But that
Yeah,
she's
that should feel like a very liberating time.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
but
Well,
there's some responsibilities with that Saturn sitting on the moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had Saturn on your moon not that long ago.
mhm.
How was your response to that?
I had surgery and had my uterus taken out and had cancer. So I'm not. That was in my. It's in my first house, not in hers. So
Right. And it was other things going on. Right.
yeah.
Right.
So it
But it
was. Yeah. So it's life altering. We're also back to 97, 98. In my case, it was 94 when the uterine fibroids got diagnosed. So it started bleeding. And so I went to the doctor and off we went. In your case, Melanie, Saturn in the eighth house, a lot of times is finances, money, inheritances. And also,
mhm,
we're going to say to you, go back to 97, 98 when you were 15, 16. And what were you starting back then that now is finishing up for a whole new chapter? Moon rules your 11th house of hopes and dreams and your fate, your node of fate. And Jupiter's on that node this year, inviting you forward towards a new adventure. So, a lot of times when we finish the Pluto transit, we're kind of like tired, but then we're like, okay, go. And you can see your progressed Venus over there in the second ring is coming to your sun in this next year and a half. So
yeah, I saw that.
that's a big relationship energy. So I would be
Mhm.
curious about, what's going on for you around relationships and partnerships. And
I
also,
agree.
they're kind of at the back end of baby making. But, are you thinking of a kid? Because the eighth house is, actually this, the egg and the sperm getting together. So, you're having a big new 38-year cycle starting around what your hopes and dreams are for yourself. So it's important to have that clear vision. And it's fast right now. The skies are moving really pretty quickly. So, Mark, what do you notice?
Yeah, the moon in the eighth house, natally, you have a lot of energy toward collecting finances and pulling things together there. And it's kind of it's a nurturing energy, but it's in Aries, and so you're really in a take charge mode when you're operating with money with other people.
Mhm. Mhm.
So as these planets move into Aries, you're going to get all of that activating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that
Quickly.
with
Yeah.
that Saturn, with the Saturn sitting right on her moon and Neptune on her moon in the next, over the next few weeks, that really look at the responsible, like what did you inherit from your mother's side of the family?
Yeah,
Both because they gave you stuff or emotional patterns, or how you responded to your mother and how that built a sort of fierce independence. There's a real in this chart, I need you, I don't need you to the world. I want to work with you, but please let me do it myself.
Right.
And kind of really looking at as that Jupiter helps free up these patterns as it hits
Mhm,
those nodes. What is it that you want to free up, and what would you like to do instead? To
mhm,
really think about what, you may have some responsibilities that you have to deal with other people, where they suddenly have ideas of what they need from you. And to have a clear sense of your boundaries, to have a clear sense of what you want to do about it, what you feel is fair, where you want to go, and how you can balance your needs and theirs rather
yeah,
than overdo it and underdo it.
yeah. And if you pay attention to all those issues that people are bringing to you for responsibilities,
Mhm.
you'll see the underlying patterns,
Mhm.
mhm, mhm.
and that's what it's really about.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and also natally, you have the Saturn and Neptune talking to each other. They're in a
Mhm.
sextile, and now they've both gone retrograde. Well, the Saturn was retrograde, but the Neptune has. So this is a new vision of your dreams too, because we're having that conjunction on your moon. Like, what was it you thought you wanted, with a sextile, and now, well, what is it you actually want? Because now it's like the rubber meets the road and says, okay, what's the new vision for you? And so it's a really important time, especially with Jupiter on your node of fate, inviting you forward, into this next big chapter. Plus, Jupiter's going into Leo on June 30th, and he's going to go all the way to 27 by the end of December. And then he's going to stop and go backwards. So everybody in the listening audience, all of your planets are going to have Jupiter, any planet at 27 or under is going to have some kind of aspect from Jupiter on fire. And we are going into the year of the fire horse. So there's a lot of energy here around galloping in terms of direction and where we're headed. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
And someone just mentioned that, because Uranus is stationed, it's direct, but it hasn't moved yet. It's still stationary. And first movement we'll see will be on Sunday, that things tend to spin in place. And apparently there was an active shooter situation in Flagstaff today, and a helicopter checking that out and trying to find out what was going on, it crashed out of the sky and killed a couple people. So there's a couple of really, it's a good time to just be careful around mechanical things and on situations that start to spin out. Hold down, slow down, move carefully. So we have baby Atticus is the next piece that we can look at here.
Atticus Finch?
Yep. That's exactly who they were named after. Born right before the first of the year, and is a lovely combination. Looks like it was a slightly tricky birth with Pluto right on the ascendant. Often that means, there was that it wasn't necessarily dangerous yet, but it could have been if it didn't get born when he did. But because it was not right on the ascendant, it was right below the ascendant, it was about to hit the ascendant. But that often means it's a kid who has good priorities and who's been trained to deal with important issues and not worry about the unimportant at a very early age. And the third moon in Aries of the night. And
we got a pattern. Yeah.
We've got a pattern. That moon is, just pulling away from Neptune, and it's squaring the Venus. So there's kind of a feisty side. This is a very strong-willed chart with the Sun-Mars conjunction, Sun-Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn. And I would say, this is a kid, you want to work with their willpower, not fight it.
Right.
But this is a real gift. Be honest with this kid, because that Mercury in Sagittarius, if they will learn fast, they will learn very well, but learn faster if they're tired, physically tired, because that Mercury in Sagittarius can be all over the place, but then can focus and really put all the pieces together. I think of some wonderful astrologers like Rob Hand with a Mercury in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So, what do you see, Anne?
Well, I like the kids' writing and communication. And for those of you who don't know, Atticus Finch was the lawyer in To Kill a Mockingbird. I went, Atticus Finch? Heather went, yeah. So for those of you who never read To Kill a Mockingbird, go, where is she getting that from? So Atticus defended a situation that was, it's very, Kill a Mockingbird makes me cry every time I think about it. But this kid's got that will, a highest planet with Mercury and Sag, fight for truth and justice, quincunx the Jupiter in Cancer, even if it doesn't happen. So he's kind of like the little incarnation of that. And he's got Chiron square the Jupiter. So he's very much about, like, I have a vision of what it should be like. And Jupiter and Mercury talking to each other like that, he's going to have a way with words, but the Mercury is square to the Saturn and Neptune. So he's going to be pretty psychic too. So the kid's going to know if you lie to him. He's just
absolutely.
Yeah. Mark, what do you see?
Yeah. He'll definitely pick up on any untruth or any stretch, and he'll outstretch you. This is what'll happen.
Yeah.
So you start trying to mess with the truth with him, and he'll go one better. Which actually is something we can use right now. So it's a good thing he showed up.
Yeah, definitely get him into sports. Definitely expose him to music. He's got many gifts, so he needs all this different kind of stimulation.
And fight a good fight. Give him a chance to be a hero.
Yeah.
You know, take care of the dogs at the pound, or some way that he can be, you know, that his feistiness can be of service to all sentient beings.
He's a
Which
fun
looks
little
good.
guy. You're gonna have a great time raising him. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you named him after you know, a wonderful hero in literature. So he has a name to
live into.
out of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. It's time out here in the West. It's time. We're done. And Mark, what particular aspect is appealing to you at the moment that you would like to bring our attention to in our final moments here?
I think still the Uranus
Okay.
at its station. So there's something that we haven't, each of us has not quite learned about Uranus yet. So take time this week to read up on Uranus and ask yourself, how does that play into my life?
Mm-hmm.
What part of me is Uranus, and what can I use it better for?
Yep.
So that's your homework. You can report it to us.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful homework.
It's very cool.
Well, thank you all. Have a good week. And if things get a little chaotic, stay centered as best you can, including tahini flying all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
This is Heather Rowan Robbins saying goodbye from Montana.
Ann Ortley saying goodbye from Florida.
And Mark Waltz from New York.
Okay, take care.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.